Mid-Century Modern Review. Nathan Lane and Matt Bomer lead a Hulu comedy that's the edgiest sitcom of 1987. The architecturally inspired title of Hulu's Mid-Century Modern, a sitcom that has basically nothing to do with architecture, evokes something old yet current, rooted in nostalgia yet generally of the moment, behind a cultural curve yet never fully out of style. Despite the fact that the title has little connection to the content of the series, it's easy to see why it appealed to creators Max Mutchnick and David Kohan. Mid-Century Modern is an aesthetic throwback to the broadest of broad multicams in the ADS and 90s mode pioneered by the legendary James Burrows and directed here by none other than James Burrows, only topically retrofitted for more progressive and relaxed streaming era. Mutchnick, Kohan, and Burrows broke new ground with will and grace, but like the soap team in the 80s, they faced many more barriers from the broadcast television landscape. No matter how old-fashioned Mid-Century Modern is, it's easy to appreciate the liberation its creators feel in having what appears to be no barriers at all, in ditching the double entendres and puns, and just kicking things off with a punchline. You don't look sad. You just look like a reluctant bottom. It happens that what Mid-Century Modern lacks is, well, grace. Not the straight woman played by Deborah Messing, but the sense of borderline elegance that accompanied the farce on Will and Grace at its peak. With no barriers or restrictions around which to artistically pirouette, Mid-Century Modern ends up being both blunt and bland, occasionally pushing the envelope in creative ways, but more often forcing its exceptional core cast to compensate for stale, predictable punchlines with boundless professionalism and ample energy. The reluctant bottom in question is Nathan Lane's Bunny Schneiderman, struggling to externalize his grief at the funeral of longtime chum George. Bunny George, former Vogue fashion columnist Arthur, Nathan Lee Graham, and flight attendant and lapsed Mormon Jerry, Matt Bomer, used to be an inseparable quartet, but time, distance, and now George's death have pulled them apart. Lonely and worried about not having anybody to delete his online search history after his death, Bunny invites Jerry and Arthur to come live with him at his home in Palm Springs. They'll form a family and support system all under the watch of Bunny's mother, Sybil Linda Lavin, a filter-free matriarch prone to quippy insults and hiding her son's beloved fig Newtons. For personal reasons and reasons of narrative convenience, they agree. Lavin died in December, having completed 3/4 of the season, leaving it for Mutchnick and Kohan to honor the stage and screen legend, which happens in a suitably somber and emotional "Here's to you, Mrs. Schneiderman." The series was already, to that point, a lovingly rendered tribute to the brassy Alice Starr, whose every expertly delivered put-down and tart compliment earns a roar from the appreciative audience. If the series is designed to stir up the affection built up for vintage sitcoms, Lavin is given the kind of performance that would have earned her multiple supporting actress Emmy wins back in the 80s, when her competition would have included the women of the Golden Girls, a show Mid-Century Modern is aggressively attempting to emulate. Whether sentiment carries her to one last nomination here is unclear, but there's an equal measure of mirth and melancholy to seeing Lavin go out in such fine form on the Golden Girls front. Bomer's Jerry is very obviously patterned after Betty White's Rose, substituting LDS memories for stories about Street Olaf. It's a reminder of how difficult it is to write a character as naive yet wise as Rose Nyland was, because Jerry comes across as a collection of dim bulb eccentricities instead of a person. The odd thing is that although Bomer is a natural sitcom actor, when he's freed in the flaccid, good-natured, dumb himbo punchlines that don't even seem to be amusing the audience, he's actually excellent. Before Lavin's death shrouds the season's home-stretch in grief, the best dramatic beats come from Bomer, whose character gets some sweet scenes with a closeted young Mormon, and one solid episode featuring Billie Lourd as Jerry's long-estranged daughter.